candy break. Okay. And after 1 hour, we have also delicious lunch. All right. So, welcome back, Reverend Badoy and Bishop Pantoja and Dr. Lim. Thank you very much for inspirational presentation. Now, this is time for panel discussion. And I want to raise only one issue. Okay. All of you mentioned about church planting is needed in the Philippines. However, in the presentation paper of Dr. Lim, he said that, frankly, many of these efforts, including church planting or some issues, have not been appreciated by the people who have been helped, evangelized, and churched. So, it seems like a little bit conflict. For both of all of you, we're talking about church planting also. So, in what sense, how the church planting is needed in the Philippines? And some of participants are involved in church ministry. Then, in what essential issues, in what areas do they need to focus on while they are involved in church ministry? And thirdly also, in relation to church planting ministry, how can Korean missionaries have partnership with Filipino churches and Filipino organizations? Okay, Bishop Pantoja, can you kindly open?
Thank you very much, Reverend Lee. In the brochure that I have provided for you, this is a research that's made, and it's in a continuing process. So every day there's research being made. So the number of churches in 2015 is 66,000. It grew to 72,000 in February 2017. So these 72,000 churches does not include only the PCEC, but this includes all the Bible believing, including the Protestants. So in the Protestants, the NCCP, the Methodists, the Episcopalians, Anglicans in the Philippines is included here. And of course, Salvation Army is there, and Yemeli, UNIDA, so all 11 denominations and organizations individually have agreed, like the Dawn 2000. How many of you remember Dawn 2000 movement? So in the Dawn 2000 movement, the last time all the churches in the Philippines coordinated and worked together for church multiplication, church planting is Dawn 2000. So this is a new program that unites the whole body of Christ together. And so this 72,000 churches is the whole thing, the whole number of churches. Number of RP barangays, this is the total number. But we have identified, the Philippine Challenge have identified barangays without church, and that's 20,000. So if you are in a region, okay, or in a province, or in a city, there is a research going on there by Philippine Challenge and PCEC. So it's important, if you are in that area, connect with the ministerial association. Okay, it's good that you are there, but it's good to connect, meet if there's a ministerial fellowship that's going on there, so that there will be coordination. Also, with regards to unchurched barangays, so you don't go because we want that, we have identified that. With the help of this organization, they know this is the neediest barangay, please go there, so that there will be no congestion in one place or one city. So coordination is very important. and also reporting the number. I don't know how many are church planters here. May I see the hand of those who are doing church planting? Okay? Yeah. So at least the church planters, we want to know, and we want your efforts to be included in the number. Maybe your church is not included in the 72,000, but if we will hear from you, it will be 72,001 already. Okay? So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, church planting is still needed in the Philippines.
Yes.
But effectively, in order to make church planting effectively, coordination is needed.
Coordination.
Between not to just church plant by yourself, but before that, consult with Filipino organization to look for unchurched place.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Can I comment?
Sure.
We have actually categorized Filipinos into into three categories. So when we can do same culture ministry. So like Ilocano to Ilocano, Batanggenyo to Batanggenyo. So that's one, same culture ministry. Another is cross culture, and another is cross culture unreached. Because the problem always when we do missions mobilization is they would say we are involved in cross-cultural ministry.
Yes.
What we mean is unreached, what they mean is simply cross-cultural. So a church in Batangas having an outreach in Samar is cross-cultural, which is correct, but it's not cross-cultural unreached. So PMA, our bias is cross-cultural unreached because we want the Great Commission completed. But in these three areas, we need church planting. We need to continue church planting, same culture, church planting, cross-culture, and cross-cultural unreached church planting is also needed. So those three. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, Dr. Lim?
I just have two comments on that.
Yes.
First is on church planting. For those of you who are here, most probably you will be appreciated by your Filipino colleagues. But what I write in my paper are many of the Korean missionaries who have had bad experiences working with Filipinos. And I'm sure some of you had those initial experiences and learned from it. Praise God. But you see, in any ministry, very important is how do you relate to your co-workers. Okay? One way is to be a servant leader by becoming a friend or a partner of this person. The other way is to treat this person as an employee or a hireling. You know, you pay him something, then you expect something from him, and that kind of relationship is going to become bad. Okay? So I'm sure you experienced that or saw it in others. So it's the whole question of servant leadership. And if you really are a good servant leader, and I'm sure all of you here are that kind, you have learned how to do it. Once you leave your region or your ministry, people will love you and cry because you leave. They love you. But there is the other side where behind your back they can be whispering that good, he is leaving us. In other words, you are not appreciated. So that's what I mean, that there are missionaries who are not appreciated. By the time they leave, the people feel, wow, at last, we can now take over. Now, when we come to church planting in an area, I hope that there can be a common project with PCEC or with Philippine Challenge to have a common understanding that anyone who plants a church should register it in a list of with KMAP or with PCEC or with Philippine Challenge, so that we will be able to know who are working together. But more important is what happens on the ground. And that is, anybody who plants any church must make a decision to say that I will work with other churches in the same barangay or municipality or city. Now, that kind of a commitment is that I will meet at least once a month with the fellow pastors of other churches in the same barangay or in the same city, at least to pray together or at least try to help one another. Then the unity of the church can be seen on the barangay level or on the city level.
Okay, thank you. So, in line with that question, I understand that three of you focused on church planting, but not just only focusing on the local evangelization. You mentioned about the OFW ministry desk, and also you focused on the mission, globally missionary sending community as a church. And how can the Korean missionaries train and equip? How can Korean missionaries equip and train and help local Filipino Christians, global Christians? How can we encourage them to take part in world mission in their own context? Can you kindly give us a more specific idea and the methodology for all of us?
If I may go back quickly to the first question on church planting. And this one is really serious, and I want to be very blunt and honest about this. Because I work with denominations. In PCEC, there are 78 denominations. At NCCP, there are 11 denominations. And some Filipino pastors and denominational leaders have resented the new works that are being started by Korean missionaries, especially. Because when they come into a place, these missionaries are money missionaries. They have money, okay? And in some barangays, for example, I heard a story in Zambales, that one missionary came, okay? And he wants to start new works. So he contacted the pastors there and asked, how many of you need help with regards to building? We will help you build your churches. And these are from denominations. There's Baptist, there's Assemblies of God, there's Alliance. And so this missionary came and helped raise funds for the building of these already organized churches. And these buildings were named after the church. And so some Filipino pastors became unhappy that their pastors were, sorry to say this, stolen or pirated by the Korean missionary. This happened in the past. And that's why some Filipino denominations and Filipino pastors are not very happy when there's a new Korean missionary, because they think he's another one who would do the same. But it has been corrected in the past, and we do not want that to happen again. That's why cooperation is always welcome. When a new missionary come, for example, to San Antonio, Zambales, it's good to meet all the pastors. I'm here, I want to cooperate. Okay? And I will not invite you to my denomination. I will help you, and I will not steal your sheep. Okay? But I will cooperate, and I will start a brand new one. So cooperation, coordination is very important. Now the second part is how do we train? When a new church is started, of course, the main purpose is to evangelize the new believer, disciple them to become strong so that they will serve their local churches. But the more advanced part of training is to mobilize these new members to become missionary so that they will not stay only in their local church but would have the passion, would have the heart to leave his local church and go to another place to help establish a new work. So, different levels from evangelism to discipleship and becoming a leader in a local church and then becoming a missionary. That can be intentionally done if the planning of a church planter would go to those levels. Not just making this church strong, have a building, and have good funds, but have a missionary, intentionally have these people, train these people to have a heart for mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Reverend Father,
Well, that's why PMA actually rewrote our mission vision, because we believe that the best way to multiply disciples and plant churches is to really cultivate movements. So PMA, for example, we have a higher purpose training where we actually help believers understand that where you live, where you work, where you study, that's your mission field. God in His wisdom placed you there. And therefore, you are, a royal priest. You are God's minister there. And therefore, you are responsible to share the gospel, make disciples, in fact, multiply disciples, so that as a result, there would be a church that can be started in your office or in your community or even in your campus if you're a student. It's a very simple training that we do, and in fact, we just focus on several biblical principles, the priesthood of all believers, every believer is a minister, and then we incorporated disciple-making movement, and we simply use a company booklet, which actually would help participants or those in training to be able to start, conversation and also how to multiply disciples. So here is the material that we use. We discovered when you give them a thick manual or several pages, normally the response is, I cannot do it. But if you give them just one like this, they said, I can do it. So it's one thing that we can share, and we have seen it working, and we're really excited about what God is doing. So disciple-making movement using Company 3. So we actually prepared, we have a structure that we show the participants or those that are being trained, so that there is a structure there for training, for mentoring, for coaching, for accountability, for monitoring, even for providing care, and for exponential growth. So if they go to the training, they would be able to understand how it would work and how they are able to multiply disciples where they live, work, or study. And the good thing here is that it is seamless. You can use it for whatever religious background, for Buddhists, for Hindus, for Muslims. So we just use one material rather than different materials depending on focus. And again, it's very simple. That's why it's very transferable, and it can easily reproduce and therefore easily multiply. Another training that we provide is actually Harvest Connection, which is just one-day training it's also based from perspectives. And we have seen it very effective to mobilize churches. In fact, missions organizations have already adopted it, like Sen International, OM, CPMT, and several others, because they have seen it's very effective as a tool to mobilize churches. It only runs for 1 day. And the good thing is, we got the rights for the materials. No? So, you can even produce your own materials because we asked permission and we were given. And so you don't feel guilty when you produce materials. And this is also to help us facilitate, especially when we train Filipinos or other believers in restricted access countries where we cannot bring in materials. So that's the advantage. And the good thing there also is that it's short, it's 1 day. Secondly, it has video available so that if you are not that capable yet in facilitating, you can use the video and just facilitate the discussion. There's a tool, an inventory part of the activity where participants will be able to determine their role in the Great Commission. Are they intercessors? Are they senders? Are they goers? So it's good. I did this in Cebu Gospel, and one of the businessmen after the training said, "Now I understand my role in the Great Commission. I'm a sender." Meaning, God, that's the reason why he said, "God bless me and my business. No wonder I experience so much joy when I give and support our church missions program." So, they begin to realize what the role is. Several women after the training said, "Now we realize why 1 hour prayer meeting is so short for us, because we are intercessors." So, realizing the role would really encourage them to do more. As God designed them and as what is expected of them. And then, of course, another activity within that course, 1 day course, is there would be an inventory where you will try to evaluate your own church. How missions mobilized is your church? We have different parameters to say that this is a mobilized church. But what they did is, they work on all the various churches globally, and they got 8 common best practices of churches that are missions mobilized. So based on the 8 best practices, that would be your parameter now, your benchmark in evaluating your church. So the good thing is, it's not a pass and fail test, but it will help you realize which areas you are weak, so you can work on that. So as a result, your church will really become missional. So just for 1 day, this is all part of that. And again, it's an amazing tool to be able to mobilize for missions. And so as a result, we are seeing, churches started same culture, cross culture, and even cross cultural unreached. So these are the 2 main trainings that we actually offer in PMA. Of course, Kairos is being offered also. We have a lot of facilitators plus other trainings. But we thought we just run the short ones. No? So Harvest Connection 1 day, Higher Purpose, and using disciple-making movement is also 1 day. So we would love to partner with you if you have training schools or partner with you in your respective areas, so that we can mobilize and even train more people, and that would really fast track our church planting in different aspects.
Thank you very much.
Well, there's really no need to even partner. Just invite PMA. He is the most important person here. Just contact PMA and tell them we want 1 day or 2 day training on how our church members can be mobilized for missions. And he will take care as to what are the trainings they have. If you want a longer one so that everyone is educated as if they went to a Bible school, then ask for 4 days. 4 days, eh? That's 4 days.
1 day. 2 days.
Yeah. For Kairos. Yeah.
You know, we have short ones. If you want longer ones, we can actually expand it. You know, so we really would want to identify first what are the basic things that, you know, every believer should know, and we give them that. And in the process, you know, we just assist them. That's where coaching and mentoring comes in, where we journey with churches in areas that they need growth. So we would love to do that. And one of the things that is really in our heart in PMA is to establish centers in key areas. Actually, it's a center for evangelism, discipleship, church planting, and missions. So that any church in the area who think, I want to be involved in church planting or missions or evangelism or discipleship, there is a place where they can go. And it's very interesting because in last Saturday in Iligan, the pastors there said, we need to come up with something like this. And they all agreed, let's have a center. So they are ready for that. And what is amazing is there's a businessman who owns a place, and he said, I will provide a place. So now they have a place, and the pastors and the leaders there said, okay, we will make sure there will be people assigned. So if there are 6 days a week, like Monday to Saturday, we need just 12 people, one Monday morning, one Monday afternoon. So every day, somebody will be in the center to man it. And then, so churches or individuals who wants help in areas of evangelism, discipleship, church planting, and missions can just go there. And so the center will now facilitate trainings and whatever resources. So we will partner with Philippine Bible Society for Bibles that would be needed, gospel tracts. Campus Crusade made a commitment to provide some teaching videos. Asia Pacific Media and many others have also already signified to help. So maybe this is one area where we can collaborate also, that you can provide whatever resources you have already at hand so that we can put it in the resource center. Or if you have a place already in your area and you say, we would want this to be a resource center for this area, then we can work on details. So we're excited because this is happening now. And then next week we'll be in Baguio. There were people, 25 already people who volunteered to run the center in Baguio. What we need now is a place. So please pray with us. Or if you know somebody who has a place, can provide it for free because we don't have budget for that, then we will now have a center in Baguio that can help facilitate this. So we want this in key areas. If the Lord's speaking to you and in your respective areas and with the same heart to come up with something like this, let's talk, because we want this in key areas in the Philippines, and I believe this will fast track what we want to do and see, discipleship, all the nations, and even church planting, even among the unreached peoples. And of course, the OFW phenomenon is really amazing, and the stories, we don't have time, that's why I cannot tell stories also, but amazing how God is using Filipinos in different parts of the world. And since you are also here, you were instrumental in many Filipinos coming to Christ and being involved also in discipling them, then it's also good that we can partner to prepare them to be engaged in the harvest. But there are this is my observation, there are 3 basic skills that is really necessary. And if there are 3 trainings we need to give our people, they need to learn how to share the gospel. Number 2, they need to learn how to do one-on-one discipleship. And then thirdly, to handle a small group, not a big group. 10 people or more, when you gather in restricted countries, you need permits. But less than that, it's easy. So that's why we just advocate company 3. 2 or 3 people, that's what you disciple, and then it will just grow and it will just multiply. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have one quick if I may. Just in addition to that, there's a church. It's a Korean Union Church of Manila. Anyone from that church? The Korean Union Church of Manila. Once a year, they gather all the pastors in Parañaque for annual meeting. And that's their way of helping also the Parañaque pastors. They allow the use of their facility And then they would invite me there and give updates on church planting. You were there also, and other pastors. So this is one welcome ministry because if you have facilities in Baguio, in Lawag, or elsewhere, organize a meeting for Filipino pastors, invite PMA or that. And that's one way of relating to the Filipino pastors in the area, and at the same time helping in the training and sharing of resources.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now, 이제 질문 시간이 되겠습니다. 혹시 질문 있으신 분 질문해 주시고요. 이 세 분 중에 한 분에게 이분이 답해 주시면 좋겠습니다. 이렇게 하시면 되겠습니다. Now it's open question and answer from our audiences.
아까 본인이 얘기한 건 이게 있어요.
Do you have something?
I can answer it. Well, it's so easy, even without PMA. If you have a church, you can do what I did when I was a college student. I was intervarsity, just like David Cho. Learning, and so after graduating from college, what I did in college, when I became a youth pastor in the largest Chinese church in Manila. From 40 young people, it became more than 1,000 in 5 years. How can you do it? Ordinary students can be trained in only two: friendship evangelism and leading small groups. So all our young people are trained how to do evangelism and how to lead small groups. With that, tell them 2 by 2, start one group in your campus. If you're studying in UST or Ateneo or UP, start one. That's the Chinese in Metro Manila. So easy. Now, and if you do that, I'm sure your church will have young people who will become college graduates, who will go overseas, and they can do the same, just like what they did as students, starting to do that. And I'm sure God can bless your ministry as we mobilize every believer to be an evangelist and to lead their own small group. Once they can do it, that's the secret actually of the Korean church growth that I saw when I was in Sodaemun, Seoul, Korea, studying in Acts. Okay, how did Cho Yonggi? How did Yongnak Church? How did Deoro? It is also Koyoks. Okay, when rural people are coming to the urban center to work, who took care of them? The churches through their. And in the case even of Yoido Full Gospel Church, these small groups were led by illiterate women who did not finish kindergarten. But Cho Yong-gi trained them how to lead. So on Friday mornings, they learn how to do it. Saturday or Sunday, they can lead a small group. That is what is missing in the Korean church today. In Korea, if you want revival, so that the church will no longer decline, but will shoot up again, emphasize every believer becoming an evangelist and every believer leading their own kuryok. That training, 3 hours on evangelism and 3 hours on how to lead small groups. That's enough.
구역이었죠, 구역. 네, 구역이었죠. 네. 질문 있으시면, is there any questions? Yeah, we have extended mic, so you can raise your hands. Give us a question for you. Yes, 정.
Okay, I'm Missionary Jong Deso from Dasmarias Cavite. As we know, the Bangsamoro organic laws has been signed, right? So if so, proclaim the gospel and evangelize there, it will be illegal, right? Am I right? So PCEC, do you have any plan or strategy to reach them, even though we will be closed that area? I want to know if you have any plan or strategy. If you share it, it will be help to us.
The first executive director of the Philippine Council of Evangelical Churches more than 45 years ago, Florentino de Jesus, worked among the Muslims. And he said, Islam, I sincerely love all Muslims. And it was not hard then, but we see radicalization happening in the last 20 years. There has been an effort by the Philippine Ecumenical Peace Platform, and also this is the CBCP, PCEC, NCCP, working together to initiate dialogue among not only interfaith dialogue among church leaders, but Muslims and the military. So we have been working in the last more than 20 years. Personally, I visited Camp Darapanan. This is the headquarters of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Anywhere, anytime PCEC leaders would want to go there, we are always welcome. We have helped, actually. We have issued statements supporting the BBL in the past, including the BOL. We know that hardships will come, but there are inroads, there are initiatives by church leaders on how to work with MILF, MNLF. In fact, the late Reverend Absalom Cerveza, a Alliance pastor, was the spokesperson of the Moro National Liberation Front. And so the Kamakop, they have relationship with the MNLF, so there's no fear of going to their places. Right now, we do not know what lies ahead, but we believe that this is one effort of the church. If BBL or BOL would be one road to peace and having relationship with them, then we supported it. But of course, when Sharia law comes and when all this thing comes 5 years, 10 years from now, we do not know. But right now, what we have done is we have established relationships. We have many community development workers, peace workers. They know they are Christians from PCEC, NCCP, and they are there, and they are not being harmed. And they are doing all these ministries in the name of Jesus Christ. They're in Marawi, they're in Holo, they're everywhere. So we're not afraid if that would come. The work of the Lord will still continue. But thank God we've had opportunities to have relationships with them. Even the Grand Mufti respects us, and we can go there anytime. There was one case in Marawi. There was a relief distribution in one of the madrasa. And then this pastor, Alliance pastor, inserted Bible. Okay, maybe you've heard that in the news. And the Muslim leader said, that is inappropriate. That is taking advantage of the hunger of the Muslim people. They said, the Bible is not bad. It's okay to distribute that, but not in a relief bag. Okay? So we have to explain. We have to go to the the headquarters of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. And they said, we're not angry because he distributed Bible, but we are saying this is inappropriate because it was distributed when there's war and people are hungry and seeking for refuge. And he said, come back some other peaceful time, distribute your Bible, and we will help you distribute it. But of course, there's Quran also. So thank God, we're not afraid. Come what may, whatever would happen in the future, we're not afraid, brother. The work of the Lord would continue in Mindanao among the Muslims. And not only that, there are many Muslims that are believers of Jesus Christ right now who would help us. But more than that, the Lord is with us.
Yeah, let me respond to that. That's why earlier I was saying in my presentation, we have 5 years before 2022. We don't know what would happen, in the process because it was just approved and still a lot of rewriting and reworking would be done. But God is giving us 5 years. Let's do what we can. Let's partner together if needed to equip more Muslims. Win more Muslims, equip more Muslims, so that when the time comes, the Muslims themselves will reach their own people.
I'm glad Bishop Noel already has started on this. And that's the beautiful thing. If we are experts in underground evangelism, loving Muslims and serving them, even if Sharia law comes, we are not afraid. In fact, we rejoice because that's exactly how the gospel exploded in China. Thank God for Mao Zedong. Thank God for communism. Why? It took away the Western face of Christianity in China. Mao Zedong closed down the church buildings. Mao Zedong, he closed down the worship services. Mao Zedong closed down the Bible schools. Mao Zedong, what did he do? He drive away all the foreign missionaries. And number 5, Mao Zedong put the pastors inside the prison. So, the ordinary believers, 1 million of them, became 100 million in 20 years. So that it is every believer sharing the gospel rather than just depending on the Moksanim. We need to mobilize the whole church to share Jesus and to start house churches wherever they are. Office churches, Starbucks churches, campus, college churches. That's the kind of multiplication. That's why church planting is good, but church planting movements, church multiplication is better. Thank you.
Hallelujah!
Yeah, Kesa, thank you very much. Yeah. Is there any other question, please?
Good morning to everyone. Actually, I'm also one of the members of we have a Philippine Christian School Network. We have more than 20 above our group. We have a preschool to up to college, Bible school, and then the training, some course. This morning I heard about the message, even my personal self and then our pastor also. We have a Christian school, so we have 2. In my case, we have 2 annex. We have 1 main. Total our student more than 670 students, especially in resettlement center, Pinatubo victim people area in Pampanga. So during the hearing and how to we try my best, even our pastors involving together. With this year more detailedly, we call campus ministry and the Bible time inserting the Christian education. But maybe some need of your some help and then giving some encouragement how to more detailedly we make a way to possible for expansion the Filipino. We raise up for expanding the God's kingdom and mission. So that is all of our pastors' missionary heart. Still we are on the way and struggling. Yeah. Well, one thing I'm thankful to God, also our president, month of January is the Bible month. We are emphasizing in the January. That kind of some things to us to create challenging and then to encouraging our Filipino teacher and student. Yeah, maybe relate to some our Christian school. So you may give some idea, encouragement, better for us to push through and then to make way more the detailing and then to betterment in our, especially our Christian school network and then school ministry. Thank you.
There are several associations of Christian schools in the country. There are several of them. But I would like to speak for in the ministry of PCEC. We have a Christian Educators Network, SEDNet. And this has been in existence for more than 20 years. But this year, there is a we relaunch it. So there's, if you want to connect with them, their main ministry is to minister to the teachers and to the principals of Christian schools. They do conferences and fellowships in different regions. I know there's one that was held in Cavite, in Metro Manila. They're going to do it around the country. And if you would like, after this, I could give you my number and also their contact numbers. Christian Educators Network. And it's very important that schools would have a network. Secondly, I know some of you have Bible schools that are in your church, so not big, but big and small schools. There are also organizations like the Philippine Association of Bible and Theological Schools, the PABATS. So they hold annual meetings, quarterly meetings. Recently, I welcome PABATS. They have an office at PCEC now. And we need to strengthen also our relationship with Bible and theological schools. Especially now, unfortunately, of course, I don't know if there's Korean Bible schools that are offering honoris causa PhD, and you know, they are ordaining bishops. They are giving degree, diplomas, honorary degrees, a lot of them. So we want to regulate this because it's in Filipino it's called dalawa cinco. It's very cheap, you know. You just pay 5,000 pesos and you have PhD. So we are strengthening relationship between the Bible and theological schools and PCEC so that we, you know, the standards of education for our pastors and Christian leaders, we need to see to it that they are given proper training. And we do not allow that. We do not recognize. You know, you pay for your diploma 5,000 and you have PhD or doctors of theology. So sad to say, it's happening right now. So it's good to have regulations, and it's good to have coordination with Bible schools also. But that one thing is very, very much welcome, the theological ministerial training, whether formal, non-formal, and we really appreciate the helps and the ministry that you are doing to train thousands of Filipino workers for the ministry.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Reverend King.
Good morning. Just a quick answer to the challenge for your college. May every Christian school become missionary sending by encouraging your students before they get married or before they have a child to go overseas and work. So we hope that many Filipinos who are aged 22 to 35 will have a chance to go abroad and plant Jesus into the hospitals where they work, restaurants or hotels, or the ships that they will be working in. We really want every Filipino Christian to be at least have a 3 to 5 years exposure to becoming a missionary overseas. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning. I'm Song-Hwan Kim. Do you know I'm youngest missionary in this place? Because if you met some Korean missionaries, you cannot be under 40 age because I'm almost the youngest missionary in the Philippines. Anyway, do you know the Korean missionary came here for almost 45 to 50 years, and then we already thinking about exit strategy in the Philippines. Am I right? All foreign missionaries came to Korea for after Korean War, and then they stay there around 20 to 30 years, and they gone. They disappear in Korea. In the Philippines, we came here almost 90, 80 some age, and then until now, many Koreans came here. But as of now, we cannot see new missionaries. The meaning is old age missionaries came here to Philippines. The new is not come here to Philippines. The meaning is we must prepare for exit. But in Korean missionaries, I don't know how we can prepare ourselves. But how about you thinking about the exit strategy in the Philippines, especially in Korea? Can I ask you to Dr. David Lee about this comment?
Exit strategy.
Better than the word exit, let's call it refocus into the 1040 window. We need to, the Philippine church as well as the Korean church needs to focus on in the Philippines we call it THUMB, THUMB. Focus our mission efforts to send as many Christians to these 5 groups of people: tribals, Hindus, unreligious, Muslims, and Buddhists. If we don't focus on these 5, after 100 years, Christians will still be 33% of the world's population. We are not increasing, we have not increased over the past 120 years. That's a sad statistic, but we need to be realistic and know that until we can win Muslims to Jesus, we will not change the scenario of the postmodern world that we face. And especially for the younger ones, I hope after you get some more ideas on how we can become experts in doing frontier missions or underground evangelism. I personally believe in the next 5 years, we can finish the Great Commission. There is a great completion. PMA believes that it can be done, but it means more Christians have to go and make friends with Muslims. More Christians have to go and make friends with Buddhists, Thais, Burmese, Sri Lankans. More Christians have to become friends with Indians. If we don't do that, we are not going to change the statistics of the world. And for the past 45 years, since Lausanne 74, nothing has really changed the statistics of Christianity. Only 33% of the world's population.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because of the time, we can have only one or additional two. Tim, Philip?
Yes. This is Reverend Philip, Missionary Philip, operating GMAN Philippine Broadcasting here in the Philippines. So for Korean missionaries and pastors worldwide. So I'm questioning Dr. Nono Bataoy. I'm sure that our final mission target here in the Philippines must be to train Filipino local missionaries and send them to the whole world in cooperation between PMA, PCC, and GMAN. We have to be focused on this mission work. Now is the proper time to do this mission work. But I think PMA one-day seminar called pre-departure seminar is not too enough to equip them as a missionary. As of now, PMA pre-departure seminar is just equipping the potential missionary. It means that their main work is the job, earning the money, and second work would be mission work. Actually, we need true long-term OFW missionaries as their main work. This is my questions. Firstly, how many potential missionaries are you managing? Are you managing with the pre-departure seminar? Secondly, for sending long-term OFW missionaries, what plan do PCC and PMA have? And how would you train them and sending them, including job training? Lastly, and for our cooperation between GMAN and PCEC, PMA, what would you ask GMAN for to equip OFW as a true long-time missionaries? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Yeah, the pre-departure seminar is simply to equip OFWs to assist those that are, how to protect themselves from abuses. Just being familiar with the laws and, the rights of OFWs. So it's not really a missionary training. It's more of a platform for you to be able to connect with other OFWs and be able to share the gospel. So it's like an additional thing that can be given. But like Dr. Lim was saying, we need to really train them in sharing the gospel and in multiplying disciples. And of course, handling small groups. What we have seen in our former OFWs that were there, they are not that effective because they are doing traditional missions work. So what's tradition? You go to, for example, if you're in Dubai, you share the gospel, you start a Bible study group. For the last 10 years, the same Bible study group. That's traditional way of doing ministry. But if we want to really see multiplication, we need to make sure, even if we just disciple 2 or 3 people, that's why we just advocate for company 3. Just get 2 plus you, 3 people, and then you disciple them, and then encourage them to start their own group. Each one of them will start again another group, and then next, start another group. So that is what we call 4G paradigm, 4 generations. when our signal in our internet is 2G, 3G, very slow. We want 4G. In Korea now, 5G, right? So we want our churches to grow. We want success in missions work, 4G paradigm. Meaning, if I do ministry, I need to make sure that if I disciple my first generation, he will be able to share the gospel and handle a small group or a Bible study group. And of course, discipleship is taking place there. But I need to make sure that as I do that, he will begin his first generation, which is my second generation. And I will make sure that as he disciples his first generation, which is my second, his disciple will also be able to disciple another person. My third generation, his second generation. And I will make sure I will focus until the fourth generation. I will make sure that my disciples are discipling up to the fourth generation. His job is to do the same, down fourth, which is my fifth. So everybody goes and disciple and really monitor up to the fourth generation. According to a study, if you reach the fourth generation, it will be unstoppable. So again, if we send workers and missionaries, let's not do the traditional way. Let's do multiplication. Let's do movements. So disciple-making movements where we see multiplication of disciples. Like the one in the campus, for example, I was saying earlier, in just 4 years in the university, he had more than 400 students discipled, starting from him. 4 generations discipleship. And 8 student churches started in one campus. This is modern way, or not modern way, this is the best way to do student and campus ministry. Because we have a lot of campus ministry, they have been there for the last 10, 15 years, but only very few small groups. So we have to do things differently. So if there is one thing we need to change, the way we strategize. So now we focus on small groups and we focus on movements. That's why PMA, we have to rewrite our mission vision so that it will really focus on creating movements. And again, whether you send them to China as English teachers, send them as engineers or professionals in the Middle East or wherever, then they can multiply disciples. And again, the equipping, with the strategy, any religious background, this will work so they can actually begin discipling even those from Muslim backgrounds from the town, that's easy, no? Tribal Hindus are religious Muslims and Buddhists. Okay, if we want to succeed, that's the best way to do it. If we still send missionaries using traditional approach, it's still okay, but it will not really multiply. So let's go for something that will multiply, something that will really yield, a great harvest. We are doing Bless Japan. Bless Japan is in partnership with the Filipino Ministerial Fellowship in Japan, and we're mobilizing churches now in the Philippines to reach out to the Japanese people here and to respond to the challenge in Japan. In Japan today, there are 220,000 Filipinos. 70% are married to Japanese. So, but the good thing is, Filipino wives are coming to Christ through our missionaries. That's their strategy, so that through the Filipino wives, they win the Japanese husbands. Japan is known for Yakuza, right? Yakuza. But our missionaries, lady missionaries, their strategy, Yukusa. Yukusa. They win the Filipino wives, and to the Filipino wives, the Japanese husband will yuku sa asawa. Yukusa. They bow to their wife. Yukusa. Yuko, no? In Tagalog, those who know yuko, you bow. So, the Japanese husbands, they come to Christ to the Filipino wives. But this is the greatest challenge. The Japanese people is aging. In fact, now there are only 10,000 Japanese pastors. 9,000 of these 10,000 pastors are above 50 years old. Only 1,000 pastors in Japan are below 50 years old. That's why they need pastors eventually. We need to train young pastors. Now there are almost 2 million caregivers in Japan. And the projection now is by 2025, they will still need 550,000 caregivers. So during breakfast, I was telling Brother Kim, how can we respond to the challenge? Because the only need is they speak Japanese. Can we, in partnership, come up with Japanese schools so that we can prepare, caregivers that we can send to Japan? And if that is the case, we need to train them to do company 3. Maybe company 3, but he and only the old folks that he or she is carrying. But these are challenges that lies ahead of us. And so let's see how we can respond, and let's do disciple-making movement as simple as company 3, so that we'll be able to multiply disciples. So I hope I have responded to the question.
Okay, thank you very much. Wow, it's already 12:30. Yeah, let's give them a big hands for this wonderful discussion and question and answer. Thank you very much, sir.